Over the past 36 hours, I spent many, many hours listening to Spaces on X, providing minute-by-minute coverage of the declared war on Israel against Hamas and their unprovoked and horrific terroristic invasion into the private homes of citizens in Israel. It is harder to imagine any greater degree of terror than one could take against another person or group. And sadly, it all stems from a pure hatred of the people of Israel because they are Jewish. I have dug into every aspect of the conflict that I can possibly think of to make sure I understand the impact on stocks, bonds, oil, and Tesla for tomorrow and the week ahead in order to be sure that I'm giving you the best direction and thinking that I could possibly come up with about this crazy breaking story. Tomorrow, being Columbus Day, is generally a very light trading day because it's a federal holiday, and the things that are not going to happen tomorrow include the mail, the banking, and the bond market. But the stock market is open, and the pre-market right now is down a couple of 100 points on the Dow. So yeah, it's down, but it's not like it's crashing. And that's probably what we're going to be looking at tomorrow. Now, oil is being traded, and it's up about 3%, but given the tremendous amount that it's sold off in the last week, being up 3% is not that shocking, given that this is in the Middle East. So I would consider this also to be a muted response. This normal report on Sunday night, which is called Monday morning, this Monday morning report is specifically designed to provide you with the reports and the company earnings that matter that are coming up in the week ahead and what I'm thinking their impact might be. And there is plenty to report in that regard for this week. So, this is Randy Kirk. The time is now. Hit like. If you haven't already thought of it, hit that like button right now. Come on, do that. It really helps to get more folks involved in the channel. And then hit subscribe and hit notify. I am going to do a major essay either midday or late tomorrow. You know, I have three episodes each day now. So it'll either be midday or it might be late. I do a major essay on the overall economy and the direction of things like inflation, interest rates, growth, recession, all that kind of stuff. You do not want to miss this. It's not because I have special insights or knowledge. It's because I found two really outstanding analyses when I was doing my research, and I want to share those with you along with my thoughts with regard to what they had to say. In my personal opinion, these two ideas, these two particular reports that I found, hit it out of the park in terms of likely trends. Some of them, and taking into consideration now, that's what I'll be adding to this, some of the problems in Israel or other shocks to the system. I think we can get a look at where things are going with or without these kind of shocks. Okay, let's start with Israel today. Oh, by the way, I will talk about Patriot. I'll talk about Cybertrucks. Of course I will. So anyway, let's start with Israel. So here's my take on Israel. If it continues along the current path as a war between Israel and Hamas only, almost all the information I've been able to find out will yield the following results. So this is like a summary of where I see the war right now. Number one, Israel will have all of the fighters out of Israel by tomorrow, all of the insurgents, all of the military from Hamas, and all of the other kids that came across and thought that they would take advantage of the situation to have a little mayhem. Number two, it isn't clear, of course, how much more damage Hamas can do through missiles or drones. Just a couple of hours ago, they were still sending over missiles and shooting them towards the airport in Tel Aviv. I don't think they did much damage there, but I haven't been able to see the final results on that. The appearance is what they were shooting for was they wanted to have like a 9/11 day so they could terrorize the citizenry of Israel. For what purpose? I cannot figure it out. They can't have thought that they were going to use this incursion to wipe out all of the Jews in Israel. So what was their objective? Are they hoping to get some concessions from the Israelis by doing this? I just can't figure it out. And they had to know that this major effort, unless they thought that the Hezbollah and Iran or somebody else was going to come in and help them, they have to know that this is going to result in a massive retaliation by Israel. So, number 3, Israel will do a massive effort by land and air to completely wipe out Hamas and their ability to make war. That is their stated position, not my position, not my guess. Obviously, they have to now execute on that, but that is what they have said they're going to do. They want to wipe out every single Hamas soldier, and they want to knock out all the people that are associated with them, and they want to knock out their war machinery, whatever that looks like. Now, 4, they have a real big problem. And that is there's a lot of captives, and they're not just Israeli captives, they're captives, they're American citizens. There are citizens from all over the world that were taken captive in this effort by Hamas. They got to figure out what to do about these civilians who've been captured and that will be used as human shields. Both of those are, of course, war crimes. I mean, what is that? There are people marching in the streets right now in London. There are people marching in the streets in New York City that are somehow supporting Hamas. If you can't come together, if you can't agree as a human population as to what war crimes are and are not, then we can't have a civilization. I just don't get it. I don't get what these people, no matter whether you think the Palestinians have a position or a right or a reason to be able to make the arguments they're making with regard to Israel, or whether you think Israel's 100% right or partially right, or wherever you come down on the debate between the two, you cannot be okay with terroristic acts in order to get your way. You cannot be okay with that. All right, number 5. Number 5, the UN and others are already calling for a ceasefire and negotiations. My personal opinion is there is no possible chance of that. Not this time, not with Netanyahu running it. It is going to be march into Gaza and wipe out everything that they could find that has anything to do with Hamas. Number 6, the military and intelligence agencies in Israel are already being excoriated. And well, they should be. How did they not know this was happening? This took at least a year of planning, according to the sources I'm getting. I don't know anything about it. I couldn't have planned this thing if my life depended on it. So I don't know how long it takes or but it's certainly not something you do in a fortnight. Okay, this is something that took a long time to plan. How is it that Israel had and their amazing, supposedly amazing intelligence agencies were completely flat-footed? And I don't know how that's going to turn out in terms of whether Netanyahu stays in office after all this is done, because he's already obviously under a lot of attack right now over the reforms that he's trying to do. We'll see what happens with all that. Number 7, the U.S. intelligence services should just be shut down and start over with a completely new crew after their unbelievable series of failures in Afghanistan and then Ukraine and now this. They're just useless at this point. I mean, you can't make this, you can't make a movie like this. Nobody would buy the script. Horrible, horrible. And we really, really need completely new leadership, top to bottom, in our country. There's no possible way that anybody, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. Yeah, you know I'm a Republican, I'm a conservative. I'm sorry. If these 3 failures had happened under Trump, and these 3 failures that happened, in 3 years, in terms of how we're dealing on an international basis, I would have said, kick the bum out. I would have been the first one in line to say, throw the guy out. I don't know. Horrible. I can't figure it out. So what's the effect on the market tomorrow? The market will be down. I don't think it'll be down big. Now, if Hezbollah gets involved, that's going to have a bigger impact. And that'll make it a bigger war, and that'll make it a longer war, and that will mean that it may have more impacts on the overall economy, kind of like the Ukraine situation. Obviously, if Iran does turn out to be directly involved, as many are saying that they are, including apparently Hamas has said that Iran gave them the weapons and provided them with the money and gave them training and gave them assistance and gave them the green light to go ahead. As of last Monday, I guess they said, okay, you can go now. If all that turns out to be true, you can be 100% sure that there's going to be U.S. sanctions, allied sanctions, all of the American allies that normally work with the United States on something like this will all be putting sanctions against Iran. That could have an impact, and therefore that could impact markets. You also got to know that Israel, not tomorrow and not next week, and maybe not even next month, they will be planning a massive retaliation against Iran if all of this turns out to be 100% true. And that could be massive enough to have an impact. So for now, we'll see what happens over the course of this week as the news continues to break. And I will, of course, do my best to bring you the news that I think is impacting markets or impacting Tesla. All right, what's happening this week? Well, on Monday, no reports, but the Dallas Fed President Logan speaks, and the federal government, the Fed governor Jefferson speaks. Those are two speeches on Monday. Of course, they are always ready to mess things up. But I'll be speaking on Monday. Like I told you, I'll give you that economic report. I think you're going to find it at least as valuable as these two stocks. Anyway, Tuesday. All right, here we go. Wholesale inventories expected to be down again. If you listen to Larry Goldberg and I on Saturday morning, you'll know that we talked a lot about wholesale inventories and retail inventories being down. So that, generally speaking, you're saying, okay, that's bad, because that means that retailers and wholesalers, or in this case, wholesalers are going, okay, I don't need as much, so I'm not going to buy as much. And if I don't need as much, then that's bad for the overall economy. They're saying here it'll be down 0.1%. That's a fraction. That's almost a negligible number after being down 0.1% last month. I don't think that's a real big deal. I love this other report that's coming out on Tuesday because I'm a small business guy, right? So the National Federation of Independent Businesses puts out an optimism index every month, and they're saying that this is going to be dropping a little bit, that small businesses are getting more worried. Now, that's the estimate of the street. That's not the actual report, but that'll be out in time Tuesday morning. I'll be able to report that on After the Bell Tuesday morning. We would really like to see small businesses. I mean, they're the engine. They're the biggest engine of the economy. We would like to see small businesses really being able to hang in there. Biggest issue, of course, for them is being able to borrow money. And that's, again, Larry and I spent a lot of time talking about that on Saturday morning. If you didn't see that show, that was a show you should definitely go back and take a look at. All right, Wednesday. Oh, yeah, here we go. The producer price index, core PPI, PPI year over year, core PPI year over year, all of that's coming out on Wednesday morning before that'll be something that I'll be reporting on in my show After the Bell. The only one that the street is predicting is the actual headline number, and they're saying that it will be up 0.3% after being up 0.7% last month. And so that would be a good direction. They're not predicting core PPI. They're not predicting core PPI year over year. Last month, core PPI was at 0.3, and I'm saying it'll be down. So I'll make the prediction. Core PPI will be down 0.2, 0.1, somewhere in that range. Year over year, it might still be up around 3. Okay, but that would be fine. That would certainly be good news for the Fed. And then they'll have the minutes of the Fed September meeting at 2:00 that day. I'll report on that Thursday. Well, Wednesday afternoon, actually. Wednesday afternoon, I have my midweek hot takes. So I will try to remember to give you any kind of news that came out of the minutes of the Fed September meeting. Okay, then on Thursday, it doesn't get easier as the week goes on. We have initial jobless claims. Those are expected to be about in the same range, maybe a little higher. I think that's an optimism. Who knows? Maybe they'll be higher, maybe they'll be lower, but it's not going to be such a big number one way or the other, I don't think. But if it is, it will impact. Then you've got consumer price index, core CPI, CPI year over year, and core CPI year over year. The street is estimating that all of these are going to be flat or down. So consumer price index headline down to 0.3 compared to 0.6 last month. Core CPI holding the same at 0.3 month over month. Now remember, if we take that on an annual basis, that would be only 3.6% and a run rate. So that would be getting down there. And then CPI year over year, they're saying it will stay at it was 3.7 last month, 3.6. That again is the headline number. but they're saying the core would be 4.1% down from 4.3. So the right direction, continuing in the right direction, assuming all those turn out to be true. My goal, of course, my hope would be that they'd be wrong on all of them and they would all be down more than they're predicting. And that would be, when you take a look at what's happening with trueflation, one would assume that these numbers are way too high. We'll see what happens on Thursday morning. Okay, then on Friday, we have the import price index minus fuel. I hadn't been paying a lot of attention to these numbers. Larry and I again talked on Saturday morning about some of these import price numbers. These are having an impact because imports are dropping. People are not needing as much product, and so the total unit numbers are dropping, total dollar numbers are dropping. That should eventually mean that we should start to see it in the CPI and the PPI. And then we have the consumer sentiment numbers coming in, and that's expecting to drop. Also, the consumer sentiment will be getting more negative. So we'll see if that's true as well. Okay, additionally, we have the beginnings of earnings reports. So of note, we will get a look at the food and beverage category with PepsiCo on Tuesday. One of the things we'll be looking for is what do they say about future pricing? They're in the obviously food and beverage. That's one of the ones that's staying a little up there at around 4% per year. So is PepsiCo thinking of dropping their prices? What are their numbers looking like? Maybe they'll be talking about that a bit. And then on Thursday, we get Delta Airlines. So that'll give us a look at another category that's been staying up there a little bit, which is travel, in particular airline travel. I don't know if you've had to travel anywhere recently, but if you, my daughter just tried to get a round trip ticket to Charlotte, and it was $1,000 round trip from California. That's like triple what it should be. Anyway, then on Friday, we shift our focus, and this is what everybody's going to be paying attention to. BlackRock, Chase, and Wells Fargo start off the banking sector reporting. I don't think anybody's expecting any surprises coming out of these three, but the guidance, I think, is what everybody's going to be looking here. What are the banks saying about the next quarter and the quarter after that? What are they seeing? What decisions are they making? That I think is going to be very valuable. We won't be able, of course, to talk about that until Friday night and or Saturday morning. All right, you might be a little bit unsurprised to learn that all the regular news sources I use, we're not talking about Tesla today. They're all talking about nothing but Israel. So I've got nothing for you on Tesla, except that I don't think any of this will affect the underlying valuations of the stock going into this week. However, tomorrow, who knows what's going to happen, because Tesla on a day like tomorrow might follow the NASDAQ around. But with light trading, that adds another weirdness to it. So tomorrow might be kind of a weird day for Tesla. Then everything, starts really, the whole week. This is a week that traders should love. Folks who think that they understand the market and can day trade, this is probably a week you could make some money. All right. So, and in addition to Larry Goldberg and I doing that Saturday morning report, which you should not miss, we also put out a program this morning where Larry talked about, Elon Musk's bio by Isaacson, and talked about the superpowers that, okay, you've heard about him, but you might want to hear about him from the guy who wrote the book, The Elon Musk Method, which began the whole idea of talking about Elon Musk's superpowers, and a guy who's owned companies on 3 continents, and had lots and lots of employees. Oh yeah, I've owned a company on 1 continent. Anyway, he did a great job of analyzing it. Here's the card. You want to go check that out. And my last story of the day is that folks are starting to get the advantage. They're starting to understand the gift opportunity in the Cybertruck bottle opener and refrigerator magnet. The people that have received 1, and some people who've received 10 or 15, get them and they go, oh my gosh, this is even better than I thought. I definitely see the gift benefits. I literally got 3 orders on Friday for 10 each Cybertrucks. I was shocked. It's not that I should be getting 3 orders like that every single day, of course, but that was a new record for one day. not only in terms of total units, but also in terms of 3 orders for 10 each. That was quite the surprise. Anyway, if you don't already have a gift list that you think this should go to, I think you should start getting busy on that. You can also, of course, get one for yourself. That would be a good place to start. So you can see really how cool this product is. $25. You send it to paypal.me/Randy Kirk, all in lowercase. That's the only way it works. And then, of course, you can get one for free if you join up on Patreon. And, I haven't put up any news stories today on Patreon. Sunday morning church, the rest of the day football, and all of it was Israel. So I'm sorry, this is the first day I haven't put up anything yet on Patreon. Maybe I'll put one up before the Sunday night football game starts. Maybe it's already started. Yeah, probably it's already started. I should probably get off of this and go look, but you guys need to stop in halftime and check out this entire thing. Anyway, okay, that's it. I'm done. Been great talking to you as always.